Here's your wrestling news for October 8th, 2025. Your headlines for today include: who's next for Seth Rollins? WWE's surprising direction leaked. Major curveball in Roman Reigns' WrestleMania 42 and Survivor Series plans shocks fans. Paul Heyman gets roasted by Braun Strowman in Gotham-inspired rant. The truth behind the Hardy Boyz NXT Tag Team title win, WWE's real motive exposed. Osiris Griffin's two major botches stun fans, one nearly turned dangerous. Matt Cardona to wrestle in WWE for the first time in 5 years, fans react. WWE fans horrified after possible career-threatening injury at ShowDown special. Trick Williams betrays NXT, Team TNA takes over Survivor Series ShowDown special. The race to become Seth Rollins' next challenger for the WWE World Heavyweight Championship is heating up, and all signs suggest that the title picture is about to explode into a multi-man battle. According to Bryan Alvarez, WWE is considering a triple threat match featuring CM Punk, Jey Uso, and LA Knight to determine the next contender for Rollins' championship. The idea makes sense as all three have legitimate storyline claims to a title shot. For LA Knight, the justification is simple: he was the last man to defeat Seth Rollins in singles competition, a victory that still carries weight in the ongoing narrative. Jey Uso, meanwhile, never received his proper rematch after losing the title, leaving his redemption arc unresolved. And there's CM Punk, who's been intertwined with Rollins' story since his shocking return, feuding with him across multiple shows and scoring wins over him at WrestlePalooza and again during WWE's first ever Netflix event. The tension between these contenders, combined with the presence of Jimmy Uso stirring the pot on the sidelines, creates the perfect setup for a high-stakes clash, one that could define the next chapter of WWE's top championship picture. With so many possible directions, the question now falls to the fans: which path should WWE take next? Should CM Punk continue his heated rivalry with Rollins one-on-one? Should Jey Uso finally get his overdue title rematch? Or should LA Knight, who's earned his momentum the hard way, get his moment in the spotlight, even if it's a short championship run? What do you think? Which superstar deserves to face Seth Rollins next? And is it time for LA Knight to finally hold WWE gold? Roman Reigns is officially returning to action this weekend at WWE Crown Jewel Perth, but fans eager to see him face Seth Rollins one-on-one will have to wait a little longer. According to new Backstage reports, WWE has a very different direction in mind for the Tribal Chief as the road to the end of 2025 begins to take shape. Bryan Alvarez reports that Reigns is already locked in for an appearance at WWE Survivor Series War Games on November 29th in San Diego, but not in a singles match. Despite heavy fan speculation about a Reigns vs. Rollins encounter, Alvarez clarified that Roman is instead scheduled to compete as part of the traditional War Games team match. In explaining the situation, Alvarez noted that there are no plans for a Reigns vs. Rollins singles bout before January at the earliest, and even that window seems unlikely since both men are expected to enter the Royal Rumble. He added that the earliest realistic scenario for that long-awaited clash would probably be WrestleMania 42, though he stressed that WWE's plans could still evolve depending on creative direction. This update aligns with WWE's broader approach to keeping Roman Reigns' in-ring appearances limited and impactful. His last match took place in August at WWE Clash in Paris, where he defeated Bronson Reed in a dominant performance. That same matchup will be revisited in Perth this weekend, only this time under Australian street fight rules, promising a more chaotic and physical encounter. While many had hoped that Survivor Series War Games would finally serve as the stage for Reigns and Rollins to settle their long-running rivalry, WWE appears to be reserving that dream match for a much grander platform. Dave Meltzer even suggested that the company might be holding off the bout until WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas, potentially positioning it as one of next year's main attractions. If that's the case, Reigns' upcoming appearances at Crown Jewel and War Games may serve a larger purpose, not just to deliver spectacle, but to advance the Bloodline's ongoing narrative and strengthen the internal storylines leading into WrestleMania season. Roman Reigns' road to WrestleMania 42 is starting to come into focus, but for fans craving that long-overdue showdown with Seth Rollins, patience will be key. Do you think WWE should save Roman Reigns vs. Seth Rollins for WrestleMania 42, or should WWE go with a new opponent like Braun Breaker? Sound off in the comments below. Enjoying the video? A quick like goes a long way in helping us grow and deliver more wrestling news you care about. On this week's episode of WWE Raw, Paul Heyman sparked quite a bit of controversy while promoting Roman Reigns' upcoming Australian street fight against Bronson Reed at Crown Jewel. During his promo, Heyman boldly claimed that Reigns had never been beaten so badly that he had to be taken out on a stretcher. That statement didn't sit well with Braun Strowman, who quickly took to social media to call out what he saw as a complete rewrite of WWE history. The former Universal Champion didn't mince words or memes in his response. "Yeah, okay, Oswald Cobblepot," Strowman posted, directly tagging Heyman and pairing the message with images from one of the most brutal segments in Raw history, his 2017 backstage assault on Roman Reigns. For context, the Oswald Cobblepot reference is a jab at Heyman's resemblance to the Penguin from Batman's Gotham universe, a villain known for his scheming and manipulation. The insult immediately went viral, but what really drove Strowman's point home were the images he shared alongside it. So when Heyman declared that Roman had never been beaten that badly, fans and Strowman himself were quick to remind everyone that the monster among men was the first to truly destroy the tribal chief. NXT opened with one of its biggest crossover moments to date, as the ShowDown event featured a historic Tag Team Championship unification match that set the tone for the entire night. Representing NXT were Dion Lennox and Osiris Griffin of Dark State, the reigning Black and Gold Tag Champions. Across the ring stood one of the most iconic duos in the history of the sport, Matt and Jeff Hardy, carrying the TNA Tag Team Championships. The atmosphere was electric, amplified by the presence of the Dudley Boyz and TNA president Carlos Silva, who watched from ringside as the two generations prepared to collide. But before the bell could even ring, chaos erupted. All four members of Dark State attacked the Hardys before the match began, turning it into a 4-on-2 fight. Matt and Jeff fought back fiercely, cleared the ring, and finally got the match underway. Once the match officially started, both teams fought hard and traded control in a competitive back-and-forth battle. In the end, Jeff Hardy tagged in, hit a perfect swanton bomb, and secured the win, making the Hardys the new unified tag team champions of NXT and TNA. It was a shocking outcome for NXT loyalists, but one that carried layered meaning behind the scenes. The decision to have Matt and Jeff Hardy capture the titles wasn't just about nostalgia, it was a strategic move designed to restore balance in the ongoing WWE TNA partnership. Until now, the so-called invasion angle had heavily favored NXT. Trick Williams captured the TNA Heavyweight Championship, JC Jane briefly held the Knockouts title before dropping it to Ash by elegance, and Kalani Jordan won the Women's Championship following Ash's sudden vacancy. TNA, by contrast, has been on the losing end of nearly every major encounter. By awarding the Hardy Boys this win, TNA finally earned a much-needed victory in the rivalry, one that not only evened the score, but also lent credibility back to the crossover storyline. Beyond storyline balance, the timing of the Hardys' victory also serves a promotional purpose. Matt and Jeff are already set to face the Dudley Boyz at TNA Bound for Glory, a match steeped in legacy and nostalgia. With both duos holding championship gold, their upcoming clash instantly gains added weight. Bubba Ray and Devon, who were seen glaring at the Hardys after the NXT match, now have extra incentive and extra pride riding on their reunion bout. The titles raised the stakes, turning what was already a dream match into a generational showdown. There's also a practical side to the booking decision. NXT's current tag division lacks credible challengers who could believably dethrone Dark State. Teams like Hank and Tank have already cycled through the title picture, Chase University's new lineup is still in development, and OTM has been off the radar for weeks. In contrast, Matt and Jeff Hardy are a proven draw, adored by fans across every promotion they've ever appeared in. For NXT, losing the belts to such legends doesn't sting, it feels like an event. And perhaps beneath all the creative logic, there's a deeper strategic undertone at play. Matt and Jeff Hardy's current TNA contracts reportedly expire at the end of November 2025, less than 2 months away. Their status makes them prime targets for a potential WWE return. Having the Hardys win the unified titles during the height of the WWE TNA collaboration could be more than just smart storytelling, it could be WWE's subtle way of courting the brothers back home. The Hardys built their legacy in WWE, and under Triple H's leadership, a final run feels more possible than ever. If the invasion narrative continues, it's not impossible to imagine Matt and Jeff operating as free agents, champions who straddle both worlds until they decide where to officially land next. Do you think WWE's decision to give the Hardys tag team gold was a sign of respect or a strategic move to bring them back home before year's end? During the match, one of the most unfortunate botches came from Osiris Griffin of Dark State, who went for a leg drop on Jeff Hardy but completely missed. Fans have since dubbed it the Bluetooth leg drop online. It remains unclear whether Jeff Hardy was meant to lean back to take the move or if Osiris simply mistimed it. To his credit, Osiris didn't pretend the move connected, he sold it instead, while commentary quickly covered the moment by saying he missed the target. Still, the execution looked rough. Later in the match, another close call occurred when Osiris had Matt Hardy on his shoulders but stumbled forward, creating a dangerous moment. Fortunately, Matt managed to steady himself and transitioned smoothly back into the sequence, saving what could have been a much worse spot. The first elimination match of the night featured the women in action. Cassie Lee, Jessie McKay, Mara Sade, and Kalani Jordan made up Team TNA, while Jacy Jayne, Sol Ruca, Lola Vice, and Jada Parker made up Team NXT. Jordan Grace was the referee since she has experience with both brands. Jordan and Jane started the match since they were the team captains. The first elimination of the match came when NXT's Jada Parker was pinned by Mara Sade. However, the moment was followed by an unfortunate botch from Mara, as her big moonsault completely overshot its mark. It wasn't Jada's fault, nor entirely Mara's, just one of those timing mishaps that happen in the ring. To their credit, both adapted quickly and kept the flow of the match intact. A more noticeable botch occurred during the final elimination involving Lola Vice. Kalani Jordan eliminated Lola, but the ring announcer accidentally declared, "And your winners, Team," before abruptly stopping. It was clear she was about to announce Team NXT prematurely. She quickly corrected herself, clarifying that Lola had been eliminated, but by then, the slip had already taken some attention away from the finish. Despite the mishap, Team NXT ultimately secured the victory, with Sol Ruca and Jacy Jayne standing tall as the final survivors. It was fitting to see both NXT champions closing out the match strong. The bout itself was well-paced, entertaining, and creatively structured, even if the announcer's error slightly dampened the ending. Matt Cardona was spotted backstage tonight with Ava, where he apologized for interfering and costing Josh Briggs his match before requesting a match against him. As the conversation unfolded, Josh Briggs entered the scene, making it clear that both he and Cardona share the same goal. Cardona's moment hiding behind the door added a light, humorous touch to the exchange, and by the end of the segment, their showdown was made official for next week's NXT. It's worth noting that next week's episode of NXT has already been pre-taped, since much of the production crew will be in Australia for Crown Jewel, SmackDown, and Raw, all taking place in Perth. So while spoilers might surface online, we're not going to provide anything to our viewers. Next up was the matchup between Mustafa Ali and Ethan Page. Ali's entrance stood out immediately. The seamless transition from his old WWE theme into his current music added a subtle touch of nostalgia and depth to his character, perfectly setting the tone before the bell even rang. Once the bell rang, the action escalated quickly. Ali's suicide dive that sent both men crashing over the announce table was a highlight, but the spot where Page shoved him off the top turnbuckle to the floor took things to another level. There was another standout moment when Ali's face connected with the ring post looked downright brutal. This was a hard-hitting, fast-paced match that showcased both men at their absolute best. It may well have been Page's finest performance in months, as he and Ali seamlessly blended their in-ring styles to deliver a thrilling encounter. After a series of near falls that had the crowd on edge, Page ultimately secured the victory to retain his North American Championship. The commentary team added intrigue by pointing out that Ali's misfortune with the North American title seems to continue, a fitting note to end an electric match that left both competitors looking strong. Backstage, Blake Monroe made it clear that her sights are set on the Women's North American Championship, while also stirring tension between Sol Ruca and her partner Zarya. The segment hinted at possible cracks forming within the duo, raising the question of whether NXT might actually split Sol and Zarya just as their feud with Charlotte and Alexa Bliss begins to build momentum. Time will tell. In another backstage moment, a brief exchange between Lexus King and Dr. Wagner Jr. set the stage for their upcoming match next week on NXT, which promises to be an exciting encounter. Finally, all eyes were on tonight's main event, Team TNA versus Team NXT. The first elimination came when Team NXT's Miles Bourne was pinned, followed by Javon Evans, who was defeated by X Division champion Leon Slater. The moment added hype to their upcoming Bound for Glory clash, but it also sparked speculation. With Leon pinning Javon tonight, could that mean Javon might walk out with the X Division title on Sunday? Tension soon rose within Team NXT as the two remaining members, Ricky Saints and Trick Williams, found themselves at odds. Trick refused to help his team, jumping off the apron and walking out on both Ricky and Team NXT. Given recent developments, this seems to be setting up a future showdown between Trick and Ricky for the NXT Championship. Despite Ricky's attempts to pin two of TNA's competitors, the numbers were too much. Mike Santana sealed the win for Team TNA after pinning Ricky Saints, with Moose and Santana standing tall to close the match. The show ended on a respectful note as Ava and Santino Marella congratulated each other. However, Ava then extended an invitation to the TNA Knockouts division for a battle royal to determine the next challenger for JC Jayne's NXT Women's Championship, signaling that the NXT TNA partnership is far from over. The big NXT vs TNA showdown ended up being the definition of 50-50 booking, with each brand taking home 2 wins. What's your take on the event? Sound off in the comments below. Don't miss our next video coming at 5:30 p.m. Eastern with all the latest wrestling updates. Smash that bell icon and select all notifications so you're always in the loop.